Ngozi screamed so loudly that her mother dropped the spoon she was holding in the kitchen. "Jesus! What happened?" her mother shouted, rushing into her room. But Ngozi just sat there, frozen, staring at her phone. Her hands shook. Her heart beat fast like drum sound in her chest. "Mommy, look," she whispered, showing her mother the phone screen. It was her own picture, a selfie she had just taken 2 minutes ago, but something was terribly wrong. Her face was not normal. Her smile was twisted, her left eye looked bigger than the right, and her skin had turned grey, almost lifeless. Even her teeth looked longer. She quickly deleted the picture, took another one, and gasped again. This time, her mouth looked bent, and her shadow behind her was smiling when she wasn't. Her phone suddenly flickered and went dark. Ngozi dropped it on the floor and covered her face. "Mommy," she whispered with fear. "I think something bad is happening to me." Before all the strange things began, Ngozi had a best friend called Joy. They grew up on the same street in Enugu. From school days, everyone called them the twins without blood. They did everything together, same hairstyles, same dresses, even shared the same phone sometimes. They loved taking pictures, making short videos, and posting on TikTok. After school, they would sit under the mango tree beside Ngozi's house, editing their videos and dreaming aloud. "One day, brands will pay us to wear their clothes," Joy would say, laughing. "And we'll travel the world," Ngozi added. They were both full of hope, chasing the same dream of becoming famous influencers. They helped each other take photos, shared each other's posts, and shouted with joy anytime one of them got more likes. But something began to change when Joy's videos started getting thousands of views. People started calling her the new internet star. She began to receive free wigs, clothes, and small brand deals. Ngozi was happy at first. She would post comments like, "Proud of you, sis," with heart emojis. But late at night, when she scrolled through Joy's glowing pictures and read the comments saying she's the prettiest influencer, her heart would tighten. She would look at her own page with only 50 likes and whisper, "Why not me?" And slowly, a dark seed began to grow inside her, something she didn't yet understand. Fame came to Joy like morning light, soft at first, then brighter every day. It started when she danced in the rain wearing her red gown and posted it online. The video went viral. Within a week, thousands followed her. Her laughter, her glow, her confidence, everyone loved it. She began to receive gifts. Makeup brands sent her boxes to unbox. Clothing lines asked her to model their dresses. Even celebrities started commenting under her post. Whenever they walked together, people stopped Joy to take selfies. Ngozi smiled politely, but her chest felt heavy. At night, she stared at her own page. Her videos had fewer likes, fewer comments. Sometimes she cried quietly, scrolling and scrolling until her eyes turned red.
What happened?
One afternoon, at a small restaurant, Joy spoke excitedly. "Guess what, Ngozi? A big hair brand wants me to be their ambassador." Ngozi smiled. "That's great," she said, but her voice cracked a little. Joy didn't notice. She kept talking about her new followers, her photoshoots, her outfits. Ngozi kept nodding, pretending to be happy. But as she walked home that evening, she said softly to herself, "She's lucky, everything comes to her easily. And me, I'm invisible." The wind blew dust into her eyes, but she didn't blink. Something inside her had begun to change, quietly, like fire hiding under ashes. From that day, Ngozi began to wear a mask that no one could see. She smiled when people praised Joy, she laughed when they called her Star Girl, but her laughter didn't reach her eyes anymore. Whenever Joy came to her house, Ngozi would quickly hide her phone and close all the tabs showing Joy's pictures. They still went out together, but something invisible had built a wall between them. At school events, everyone gathered around Joy, taking selfies, shouting her name, asking for tips. Ngozi stood at the back, pretending to take calls or scroll through her phone. Inside, she was boiling. When Joy tagged her in a video, Ngozi would repost it and write, "My bestie forever, red heart." But once the camera was off, she whispered under her breath, "She thinks she's better than me, bestie forever my foot." One evening, they were preparing for a joint video. Joy looked at her reflection in the mirror and said, "Ngozi, can you help me fix my hair? This lace front isn't sitting well." Ngozi walked over, helped her, and forced a smile. But while holding the comb, she caught their reflection in the mirror, one glowing, one dull. Her heart whispered, "Why her? Why not me?" At night, Ngozi sat on her bed scrolling through her phone, watching Joy's comments flood in. "Queen, you're so beautiful. I wish I could be you." Joy threw her pillow on the floor. She started crying silently. The next morning, her eyes were swollen. She told her mother it was allergies. But it wasn't. It was envy, silent, deep, and growing. Still, she kept pretending. Pretending to be fine. Pretending not to care. But inside, jealousy was planting roots, and something dark was waiting for the right moment to bloom. It was a hot Saturday afternoon when Ngozi went to the market with her mother. The place buzzed with noise, traders shouting, women haggling, bosses honking, and the smell of fried puff-puff filling the air. While her mother bargained for tomatoes, Ngozi wandered off to a corner where phone accessories were sold. She needed a new ring light but didn't have enough money. As she checked the prices, two women sitting by the roadside caught her attention. They were whispering about someone, their voices low but sharp. "Did you hear about that boy that became famous overnight?" one asked. The other nodded. "Yes, oh, I heard he went to see Mama Ebra, that woman near the old market road. They say she helps people shine on social media. You just go with a small gift and your picture. The next day, fame will follow you." Joy's heart skipped. She moved closer, pretending to pick something from the ground. "Is she still doing it?" the first woman asked. "Yes," the other replied. "But not everyone can handle it. You must do exactly as she says. If you're jealous or greedy, the thing might turn against you." Joy stood frozen. The words "shine brighter" kept echoing in her head. On the way home, she couldn't think of anything else. Her mother kept talking about food prices, but Joy's mind was far away. That night, she lay on her bed scrolling through Joy's new post, her friend posing with a big smile and the caption, #brand ambassador #grateful. Ngozi's chest tightened. She remembered the whispers. The name, Mama Ebra. The promise, "You can shine too." By morning, she had already made up her mind. She would find that woman. Even if it meant crossing a line she could never return from. The next morning, Ngozi woke up with one thought burning in her mind, Mama Ebra. She didn't tell her mother where she was going. She wore a long gown, covered her hair, and tucked her phone into her bag. Her heart beat fast as she walked through the narrow streets leading to the old market road. The closer she got, the quieter the street became. The noise of the main market faded away, replaced by the sound of dry leaves rustling. A little boy selling oranges pointed at a narrow footpath when she asked for Mama Ebra's house. "Follow that road," he said. "You'll see a blue gate with mirror pieces on it." Ngozi followed the path until she saw the gate. Small mirrors were hanging all over it, reflecting the sunlight like tiny eyes. She swallowed hard and knocked. The gate creaked open on its own. Inside, it was dim. The air smelled of herbs and candle wax. A woman sat behind a table covered with strange objects, cowries, mirrors, feathers, and bottles filled with colored sand. "You came to look for me," the woman said without looking up. Her voice was rough but calm. "You want to shine?" Ngozi froze. How did you know my name?" Mama Ebra finally raised her head. Her eyes were pale, almost white. "I know the faces of those who hide jealousy under smiles," she said softly. Then she picked up a small black bottle from the table and rolled it towards Ngozi. "You can shine brighter than your friend," she said, "but only if her star is gone." Ngozi's mouth went dry. "Gone? What do you mean?" Mama Ebra smiled faintly. "Every light has its shadow. If you want to rise, another must fall. Decide before sunset. Once you accept, there is no turning back." Ngozi stared at the bottle. The candles flickered. Her mind screamed no. But her heart whispered yes. And before she knew it, she nodded slowly. Mama Ebra's eyes gleamed as soon as Ngozi nodded. "Good," she said quietly. "You have chosen your path." Ngozi's hands trembled. "I just want people to notice me," she whispered. "I want to shine too." Mama Ebra stood up slowly. Her wrapper brushed against the dusty floor as she moved toward a small clay pot in the corner. She opened it, dipped her fingers in, and brought out a pinch of fine black powder. The air grew colder. She poured the powder into a tiny bottle and wrapped it with red cloth. "Take this," she said, placing it in Ngozi's palm. "At midnight, sprinkle it in your room while calling your friend's name. After that, post your picture before the sun rises. You'll see the difference." Ngozi's heart pounded hard. "Will it hurt her?" she asked in a shaking voice. Mama Ebra smiled, showing a gold tooth. "Every light has a price. Some prices are heavy, some are light. The world will decide." Ngozi didn't understand what that meant. She only wanted to stop feeling small. She only wanted to be seen. Before leaving, Mama Ebra handed her a mirror shaped like a moon. "Each time you look into this," she said, "remember that beauty without peace becomes a curse." Outside, the sun had already begun to set. The street looked quiet, almost too quiet. A wind blew, raising dust around her feet. She walked home clutching the bottle like a secret treasure. That night, she couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. Her phone screen glowed beside her bed, showing Joy's latest post, a brand partnership with a popular skincare line. Joy's smile looked so bright, so full of life. Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. She opened her hand and looked at the bottle. The powder sparkled under her room light, dark, soft, calling to her. By midnight, she stood up, trembling, holding the bottle tight. The clock ticked slowly. And she whispered, "Forgive me, Joy, you've been shining for too long, but I want to shine too." The night was silent, but Joy's heart was loud. She locked her door and turned off the light. The room went dark except for the soft glow from her phone's clock, 11:59 p.m. She sat on her bed holding the small red-wrapped bottle Mama Ebra gave her. The air felt heavier than usual, like the walls were watching. When the clock ticked to 12 o'clock midnight, she stood up. Her hands shook as she opened the bottle. A strange smell rose, not sweet, not sour, something old, like ashes mixed with rain. She whispered, "Joy," and sprinkled the powder on the floor. At first, nothing happened. Then a gust of cold wind blew through the closed window. Her curtain lifted, though the window was locked. Somewhere outside, a dog began to howl, long and deep. She tried to stop, but her mouth moved on its own, whispering her friend's name again and again. "Joy, Joy." The light bulb flickered. The mirror Mama Ebra gave her began to glow faintly. Inside it, Ngozi saw her reflection, but the reflection wasn't standing still. It smiled when she wasn't. It raised its hand when hers was down. Her heart raced. "Mama Ebra, what is this?" she whispered in fear. The air around her turned cold. The powder on the floor started to spin slowly like a small whirlwind. A faint voice, soft, almost like a sigh, passed through the room. Then everything went quiet. The air stilled. The mirror went dark again. Ngozi fell on her bed breathing fast. Her body was weak, her skin cold. But deep inside, a strange calm settled over her, like she had finally done something powerful. She looked at her phone. It was 12:07 a.m. She took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and decided to do the last part. She lifted her phone, turned on her ring light, and took a selfie. Her eyes looked brighter. Her skin glowed. And for the first time in months, Ngozi smiled, not knowing she had just opened a door that could never be closed. When Ngozi woke up, the morning sun was already shining through her curtains. Birds were chirping outside, but the air in her room felt heavy, like it hadn't breathed all night. She rubbed her eyes and reached for her phone. There were hundreds of notifications. Her new photo had gone viral. "Wow, you're glowing. Queen energy. Who's your skincare plug?" Ngozi gasped. The picture looked perfect, her skin smooth, her smile bright, her eyes sparkling. Even she couldn't believe it. She laughed out loud, almost in disbelief. "It worked," she whispered, pressing her phone to her chest. She danced around her room, replying to comments, adding more hashtags, #blessed, #newglow, #grateful. For the first time, she felt noticed. Important. Alive. But her joy didn't last long. By afternoon, she realized Joy hadn't posted anything all day. She checked her WhatsApp, no status, no reply to messages. She called, but the line was switched off. At first, she told herself it was nothing. Maybe her battery is dead, she thought. But as evening came, people began to whisper online, "Has anyone seen Joy?" One person posted, "She left for a photo shoot yesterday and didn't come back." Ngozi's smile slowly faded. She scrolled back to her own post, staring at her glowing face on the screen. Something in her chest twisted. Maybe it's not connected, she told herself. It can't be. But when she looked closely at her reflection in her phone, she noticed something strange. Her eyes looked slightly darker, almost shadowed. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every small sound made her jump. She dreamed of Joy's laughter echoing through the wind, fading slowly, replaced by silence. When she woke, her phone buzzed again, another message trending online. Breaking news, popular influencer Joy Okafor has been declared missing. Ngozi's phone slipped from her hand. Her body went cold. She didn't know it yet, but from that day, her fame would rise. And her peace would begin to die. Within 2 days, Ngozi's life changed completely. Her photo was everywhere, reposted by big pages, shared by influencers she used to admire. People called her the new face of beauty. Brands started sending her messages, "We'd love to work with you." Ngozi couldn't believe it. Everything she once dreamed of was now in her hands very fast. Her follower count jumped faster than her heart could keep up. But behind all the excitement, fear hid quietly. Because Joy was still missing. Sometimes, when Ngozi looked at her viral photo, she felt a strange unease. Her smile looked too wide. Her skin too shiny, almost unreal. But everyone said it was perfect, so she forced herself to believe them. At night, her DMs filled with praise. But when she scrolled too long, her phone flickered, showing quick flashes, her face shifting slightly, her eyes staring straight at her even when she wasn't facing the camera. She ignored it. She didn't want to think. She just wanted to keep shining. When her mother entered her room one evening, holding the TV remote, her face was pale. "Ngozi," she said slowly, "they're talking about Joy on the news. They said she vanished after her last photo shoot." Ngozi froze. Her hands went numb. On the TV screen, Joy's picture smiled, the same bright smile Ngozi once loved. But for the first time, Ngozi noticed something terrifying. In the photo on TV, Joy's shadow behind her was shaped exactly like hers. Ngozi's breath caught. She turned off the TV, whispering, "No, it's just my eyes." But deep down, she knew something had already started following her. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and Ngozi's fame kept rising like smoke from fire. Every photo she posted went viral. People called her the goddess of beauty. But each time she looked at her pictures, something didn't feel right. Her smile looked stretched. Her eyes sharper. Her skin paler than before. At first, she blamed filters. She told herself the edits were too strong. But then her followers began to notice too. "Why does your face look different every time?" one comment read. "New filter," another asked. Ngozi laughed it off, replying with heart emojis. But deep down, fear began to grow. One night, she sat before her mirror preparing to record a makeup video. The ring light glowed bright, bathing her face in warm light. She started talking to her followers, smiling as usual, until her reflection blinked after her. She froze. She leaned closer. Her reflection stared back, but its lips curved into a strange smile. A smile she didn't make. Ngozi jumped up, knocking down her ring light. The room went dark. Her heart hammered like a drum. She whispered, "It's stress. I'm just tired." When she turned her phone back on, her new video had already uploaded, but the face in the thumbnail wasn't hers. It looked older. The eyes were hollow. Panicking, she deleted it immediately. Later that night, her phone camera turned on by itself. The screen showed her room in real time, empty, except for a faint outline of someone sitting at her table. The same shape as her. Ngozi screamed, threw her phone on the bed, and covered her face. The fame she begged for was now watching her, and it never blinked. The news about Joy spread everywhere like Harmattan fire. Her face was on every post, missing influencer still not found. People wrote prayers and hashtags. Hashtag Bring Back Joy trended for 3 days straight. Ngozi read every comment, her stomach twisting. Friends called her, asking if she knew anything. She lied softly, "I'm seriously asking around to know if she traveled without letting me know. I'm just worried for her." But every lie felt heavier than the last. She stopped sleeping properly. Each night she would hear soft knocks on her window. When she opened it, there was nothing, only the sound of wind whispering her name. Her mother noticed she had changed. "Ngozi, are you sure you're okay?" she asked one morning. Ngozi forced a smile. "I'm fine, Mommy. Just tired." But she wasn't fine. Her face had started to look different in every mirror, thinner, older, and sometimes not even hers. In photos, her reflection was always a little delayed, like it came from somewhere else. One evening, Ngozi's phone rang. The screen showed Joy's name. Her breath stopped. She answered quickly. "Joy, where are you? Are you safe?" But there was no voice. Only static, faint, hissing, like someone breathing through the line. Then, very softly, she heard it. "Ngozi, you said you wanted to shine." The call ended. Ngozi threw the phone across the room, shaking. She ran to her mirror. Her reflection smiled again, wider, colder. Her phone pinged with a new notification. It was an old picture of her and Joy together, but now, only she was visible. Joy's body had faded, leaving a faint outline beside her. Ngozi fell to her knees, sobbing. She didn't know if it was guilt or fear, or if the two had now become the same. Outside, thunder rolled. The air felt like warning. Something was coming for her, and it already knew her name. Ngozi stopped opening her curtains. She didn't like light anymore. Every reflection frightened her, the TV screen, her phone camera, even her shadow on the wall. The girl looking back at her didn't always move the same way. Sometimes her reflection's lips moved before hers, sometimes after. Sometimes it didn't move at all. One morning, she tried to record a thank you video for hitting 4 million followers. She smiled at the camera. "Hey guys." But halfway through, she froze. In the phone screen, she saw two of herself, one smiling, one not. The second one stood slightly behind her, eyes dark, expression cold. Her phone crashed. The screen turned black. Her ring light flickered, then burst, filling the room with smoke. Ngozi screamed and stumbled backward, covering her face. When the smoke cleared, she looked into her big mirror. This time, her reflection didn't copy her at all. It was just staring. And then it spoke. "You took what wasn't yours." Ngozi screamed louder. "Who are you?" The reflection's lips moved again, whispering softly. "I'm what you became." Her knees went weak. She threw a pillow at the mirror, and it cracked down the middle. But even in the broken pieces, the reflection kept smiling, in all of them. Her mother knocked on the door. "Ngozi, what's happening in there?" Ngozi couldn't answer. She was crying too hard. When she finally looked up again, her reflection was gone, only a black emptiness stared back from the mirror. She fell to the ground, hugging herself. Her phone buzzed again. It was a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her blood ran cold. It was a photo of her sleeping, taken from inside her own room. Ngozi's hands shook as she stared at the photo on her phone, a picture of her sleeping, taken from the corner of her own room. Her blanket, her pillow, her lamp, everything was exactly the same as they were right now. Her throat went dry. "Who took this?" she whispered. She dropped the phone and ran to her window. It was locked from the inside. The door too. No one had entered. Her phone buzzed again. Another picture appeared. This time, she was sitting up, looking at her phone. The caption read, "Don't delete me." She screamed and threw the phone on the floor, but it didn't break. The screen stayed on, showing her reflection from the front camera. Only now, the face on the screen wasn't matching hers. It was smiling slowly, eyes glowing faintly. Her mother knocked on the door again. "Ngozi, are you talking to someone?" She forced her voice to sound normal. "No, Mommy, I'm fine." But she wasn't. The next morning, Ngozi posted a new photo online, hoping to distract herself, a simple mirror selfie. But minutes later, her followers flooded the comments. "Why does your reflection look angry? Is this an edit? So creepy. Something's off with your face." She opened the picture again and froze. The reflection in the mirror wasn't smiling. It was frowning, its eyes fixed on her as if it knew what she had done. Ngozi tried to delete the post, but her phone froze. The screen glitched, flashing words she didn't type. "You wanted her gone. Now you take her place." Her blood ran cold. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "No, please no." And then the phone camera turned on again, by itself. This time, the face that appeared on the screen wasn't hers. It was Joy's. She was smiling. But her eyes looked sad. That night, Ngozi couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Joy's face, smiling gently, but with eyes full of sorrow. She turned on her light and whispered, "Joy, if you're here, please forgive me. I didn't mean for this to happen." The wind outside began to whistle softly. Her curtains swayed though her window was tightly shut. The air grew cold, too cold for a warm night. Suddenly, she heard a knock. Knock, knock, knock. Her heart almost stopped. It wasn't from the door, it was from her mirror. She turned slowly, trembling. The cracked mirror shook slightly. Behind the reflection, she could see a faint shape moving. "Joy," she whispered, her voice shaking. Then she heard it, a faint laugh, one she knew too well. It came from deep inside the mirror, soft but haunting. "You wanted to shine, Ngozi," the voice said gently. "Now you shine alone." Ngozi stumbled backward, covering her ears. "Please stop. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to be like you." The reflection shifted again. This time, it wasn't Joy's face. It was hers, Ngozi's, but darker, colder, with hollow eyes. "Jealousy made you blind," the voice continued. "Now you'll see what envy truly looks like." The mirror cracked again, a sharp, loud sound like thunder in her small room. Shards of glass fell to the floor, each piece reflecting a tiny version of her face, twisted, frightened, broken. She fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. When she finally looked up, the mirror was gone. Only a single message was scratched onto the wall where it had hung. "Jealousy never hides its face." The room fell silent again. But deep inside her, Ngozi knew something had changed forever, something that could never be undone. After that night, Ngozi could no longer tell what was real and what wasn't. Every shadow looked alive. Every mirror seemed to breathe. She stopped going outside. The sound of her phone notifications felt like whispers calling her name. But as she sat alone in the dark, old memories began to flood her mind, memories she had buried under jealousy. She remembered when Joy bought her first wig. Ngozi couldn't afford one then, so Joy saved up and bought two, one for herself and one for Ngozi. She remembered the day she lost her phone and cried, and Joy said, "Use mine until you get a new one." Tears filled her eyes. She was never my enemy, Ngozi thought. She was my friend. Her chest tightened with guilt. If she could go back, she would delete that jealousy from her heart forever. Then suddenly, she felt a warm breeze move through the room, gentle, almost comforting. The faint scent of Joy's favorite perfume filled the air. Ngozi whispered, "Joy, is that you?" The air shimmered slightly, and for a moment she saw her, standing by the door, glowing softly, her face calm, her smile kind. Ngozi crawled closer, crying. "I'm sorry. I was foolish. I didn't mean to hurt you." Joy didn't speak. She only looked at her with sad eyes. Then she slowly raised her hand and pointed at Ngozi's chest. A whisper echoed in the room, soft, like a breath. "What you plant in darkness will always grow in you." Then the image faded. Ngozi was left on the floor, her face wet with tears, her heart heavy with regret. She knew now that what she had done wasn't just a mistake, it was a curse she had invited herself. And it was far from over. That night, Ngozi couldn't close her eyes. Every time she blinked, she saw flashes, Joy's face in the rain, the cracked mirror, the strange bottle. The clock ticked slowly, the sound loud in the quiet room. Her phone lay face down on the table. She had turned off the data, but it still buzzed once in a while, lighting up like it had a mind of its own. Outside, thunder rolled softly. The wind whispered through the window net. Then it started, a faint knock. Tap, tap, tap. She sat up quickly, heart racing. The sound came again, this time from her wardrobe. She stood, trembling, and whispered, "Who's there?" No answer. Her phone buzzed again. She turned it over slowly. A new message had appeared, with no sender name. It said, "Come to the mirror." Her hands began to shake. "No, not again," she whispered. But her body moved on its own. Step by step, she walked toward the broken mirror still leaning against the wall. Her reflection was waiting, darker, sharper, eyes like shadows. Then she heard a voice, low, calm, and familiar. "Ngozi, do you remember the rain video? The one that made me famous?" Ngozi froze. "Joy, The reflection smiled faintly. You watched it again and again, wishing it was you. You wished I would vanish. Tears rolled down Ngozi's face. I was jealous, I admit it. But I didn't mean for you to disappear. The reflection's voice grew louder. You wanted to shine, Ngozi. So I gave you my light. But now you must live in my shadow. The room darkened completely. Only her reflection glowed faintly now, standing in the same space, but smiling as if it had won. Then the whisper came one last time, circling her like cold wind. When envy becomes your prayer, loss becomes your answer. Ngozi collapsed to the floor, covering her ears, crying. The night swallowed her screams, and the mirror went still, holding both girls, one alive, one forgotten. The next morning, Ngozi woke up on the floor. Her head ached, her eyes swollen from crying. For a long time, she just sat there, staring at nothing. When she finally picked up her phone, her heart dropped. Her followers were disappearing, hundreds every hour. Her viral posts were vanishing too, as if someone was deleting them one by one. When she tried to open her profile, a message appeared. This page does not exist. She refreshed again. Still gone. Panic spread through her body. No, 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 she shouted, pressing the screen again and again. The fame she had traded her soul for was melting away before her eyes. She opened her photo gallery, all her selfies looked different. In some, her face was fading. In others, her body looked blurred like smoke. In one picture, she wasn't there at all. Only her room remained. Her phone buzzed. Another message appeared from the same unknown number. A borrowed light cannot last forever. Ngozi threw the phone across the room, screaming. It hit the wall and fell, screen cracked. The house felt too quiet. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Her mother called from outside, Ngozi. Are you alright? Ngozi wanted to answer, but her voice wouldn't come out. It was like something had stolen it too. She stood before the mirror one last time. Her reflection looked weak, her eyes dim, her skin pale, her smile gone. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, I wanted to shine, but now I'm fading. The reflection whispered back, almost kindly. That's what happens when your light comes from someone else's pain. And as she watched, her reflection slowly blinked and disappeared. The next day, Ngozi could no longer keep the truth buried. Her heart was too heavy. Her soul too tired. She hadn't slept. Her phone was dead. Her face looked empty in the mirror, as if life itself was leaving her little by little. Only one thought filled her mind, tell the truth. So she wore a hoodie, covered her face with dark glasses, and walked quietly through the streets until she reached Joy's family house. People were gathered outside, still talking about the missing girl. When they saw Ngozi, they whispered, that's her friend, the one who was always with her. Joy's mother came out slowly. Her eyes were red from crying. Ngozi, she said softly, have you heard anything? Ngozi burst into tears. She fell to her knees. Auntie, I'm sorry, she cried. It's my fault, all of it. The woman looked confused. Your fault? What do you mean? And so, trembling, Ngozi told her everything, the jealousy, the whispers at the market, the visit to Mama Ebra, the midnight ritual, the powder, the pictures. By the time she finished, the whole compound was silent. Only the sound of the wind moved. Joy's mother knelt beside her, tears running down her face. My daughter, jealousy doesn't just hurt others, she said softly, it destroys the one who carries it. She took Ngozi's shaking hands and prayed, God, have mercy. Return every lost light, and teach us to love truly. As she prayed, Ngozi felt warmth fill her chest, gentle, heavy, like forgiveness itself. But when she opened her eyes, she knew some wounds don't heal completely. Joy was still gone. and S's face in the mirror would never be the same again. Weeks passed, months passed. The police never found Joy. Her posters slowly faded on the streets, washed away by rain and time. Ngozi stayed indoors most days. Her phone lay silent, forgotten. The fame that once filled her with pride now felt like poison. When she looked into mirrors, she no longer saw two faces, only one, tired and changed. Her skin had lost its glow, her smile its joy. One morning, she went to a small church near her house. The place was quiet, just her, a few candles, and the sound of birds outside. She knelt down and whispered, "God, if you can hear me, please forgive me. I didn't know jealousy could take a life." Tears streamed down her face, but this time they felt cleansing. For the first time in months, she felt peace, a painful, honest kind of peace. After that day, Ngozi decided to live differently. She deleted her old social media accounts and started a new one, not for fame, but for truth. She posted stories for young girls, warning them about envy, pretense, and spiritual shortcuts. Her first video was titled, "Jealousy doesn't just steal others' shine, it burns your own light too." People began to follow her again, but this time not for beauty or glamour. They followed her for wisdom. Sometimes, she dreams of joy. In the dream, her friend smiled from afar, her face calm and bright. Ngozi would whisper, "I miss you." And Joy would reply softly, "Now you understand, real light never competes. It just shines." When Ngozi wakes up, she always smiles through tears. Because though her face was no longer perfect, her heart finally was. And that was the lesson. Jealousy can give you the world for a moment, but it will take your soul forever.